This program is a presentation of UCTV for educational and non-commercial use only.
Today on CNS News, people find new solutions to old problems, and in some cases, old solutions to new problems. Money troubles arise in unexpected ways. How do you find a job when everyone needs you but no one will hire you? You've heard of musical chairs. In the Mission District, tenants contend with musical rooms. And in Richmond, the recession has some people rethinking the price of freedom.
Hello, it's Tony. Connections lost and found through transportation. We profile a kinder, gentler biker gang bringing back an old school ride. A man who took an epic year-long stand against the traffic ticket. And a San Francisco couple embarking on the kind of trip no one wants to take. Also, stories about Bay Area kids solving problems through art.
First up, students at Cal take a page out of Berkeley's history books in a classic form of protest. Reporter Heather Duthie has the story.
A quiet day at Wheeler Hall, a stark difference from the protests that swept through UC campuses a few short weeks ago.
Well, from what I understand, we had some students go into that classroom and take over, and they put up that banner, and we're all just gathering here to support them.
After a 3-day strike, students occupied Wheeler Hall to protest a 32% fee increase.
No cuts, no fees, education.
Over the last 2 years, the state has cut our funding by over $1 billion, and that amounts to about a 20% decrease in the amount of money that we get from the state every year.
We cannot accept or condone the severe cuts in education and the pricing out of students through tuition hikes.
The university says the administration also took a 20% pay cut, but students remain skeptical.
Because budgets haven't been released and these decisions haven't been made public, it's hard to take their word that they're spreading the pain equally.
As the day went on, violent confrontations broke out between students and police.
The police had used batons to beat students. There was a lot of injured students with concussions and broken bones at the tank center.
I don't think anybody's happy about the way things unfolded on Friday. You know, the videos and the images that we saw are very disturbing. And that's the reason why, the chancellor's called for an independent review.
I understand and share their frustration, but I want to make sure that we can channel this kind of passion and anger into advocacy in Sacramento.
But the university says this may not be the end of the fee increases.
We must realistically expect that Sacramento could consider further cuts to the University of California. I cannot emphasize the importance of this threat too much. Further cuts are absolutely unacceptable. We need to direct all of our energies to ensuring that this does not happen.
Chancellor Bergeneau also said he hopes the coming months will see renewed efforts among students, faculty, and the administration aimed at the state capitol. This is Heather Duthie for CNS News.
Every year, more than 2 million containers pass through the Port of Oakland, more than half coming from trade with Asia. The weak dollar has made Californian fruits and vegetables more attractive on the Asian market. The number of containers leaving the Port of Oakland has actually increased 17% compared with October of last year. In our next section, we'll meet some people grappling with other unexpected side effects of the recession.
Hi, my name's Angie. I'm a new graduate RN.
After an accelerated year of classes and $45,000 in tuition, Oakland resident Angie Lowe graduated with her nursing degree from Samuel Merritt University last April.
Yeah, I never thought I'd come out and not be able to find a job it's been like 6 months now.
New nurses all across California are having the same problem. Thanks to the recession, older nurses are waiting longer to retire and part-time nurses are picking up full-time shifts.
When the economy is bad, nurses work more. When the economy is good, nurses work less.
Dolores Jones, executive director of the California Institute for Nursing and Healthcare, estimates that as many as 40% of the new nurses in California from the class of 2009 are without jobs.
We can't afford to lose them. We need to keep them into the workforce, and we need to keep them in California.
I noticed the current program is full, but you're expecting one to begin in January.
On top of it all, hospitals are hiring far fewer new graduates to cut back on expensive training programs, leaving new nurses like Angie to fight for a small number of openings.
I think I've kind of realized more now. I'm not waiting for like the perfect job, I'm waiting for the perfect connection, because that's how people are getting jobs right now.
With nearly 50% of her own class still without jobs, Angie is interviewing for part-time jobs and giving flu shots in order to make ends meet.
I'd rather hold out for a hospital job, but it's just getting to a point where you have to take what you can get.
With a new crop of nurses graduating this month and others following in the spring, Angie continues to make calls, go on interviews, and look for connections, knowing that thousands more are about to start vying for the job she still can't find. This is Maureen Callahan for CNS News.
A few years ago, people could use credit cards to buy things they could not afford. Now, many luxury items are off limits, including bail bonds. Phoebe Fernista reports.
The only bail bondsman in Richmond is Tony Suggs.
Oh, one of those. Okay, parking in the handicap spots.
He says that this year, he'll be lucky to post half the bonds he did last year.
Bail is not a priority. If somebody's in custody and they're not working, majority of the time now, the family will just let them stay in jail.
That's why Donna Davidson is visiting her friend at the Martinez jail. The family is unable to pay the bond for his release.
I've seen a lot of her parents here because they just can't afford. There's no way in this world that they can afford to take their children out.
Tony says that lower credit lines and foreclosures mean people don't have the collateral they used to. These days, Tony spends his time waiting for the phone to ring.
Oh, okay, so...
Tony depends on strong relationships with repeat customers to stay in business.
And then I'll be there with her.
Mitch Correa is one of what Tony calls his wayward children.
I'm really good with cars, so I started stealing cars. You hear about the catalytic converter thieves? Yeah, well, I'm one of them.
Mitch has been in and out of jail for 19 years. He's been coming to Tony for the last 10.
Because I always go for bailed out because I want freedom, and I got the money to do it. So,
for a 10% fee, Tony guarantees that his clients will show up in court. If they don't, Tony loses the money he paid the jail.
Bail bonds, Tony.
2 of Tony's clients have skipped bail. He can't afford to pay a bounty hunter to pick them up, so he has to find them himself.
Wonder if you could help me out. I'm a bail agent. The older you get, the less you want to go sit out in a car, staking out a house for 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the night.
But that's what he'll do until the economy, or crime, picks up. This is Phoebe Fronista for CNS News.
A shared bathroom, no kitchen, and less than 100 square feet of space. Some people in the Mission District are paying more than $1,000 a month to live in one of these single-room occupancy hotels known as SROs. Vanessa Carr goes inside to find out why people are paying so much to get so little.
For 4 years, the landlord at the Neal Hotel forced Britt Creech to move back and forth between 2 of his residential hotels.
Every 21 days, he's like, you have to move. I never questioned him.
Creech is a victim of musical rooms, an illegal tactic landlords use to keep tenants on the move. A tenant gains rights at 32 days, something many landlords try to avoid.
Unfortunately, there's a huge community that lives this way.
That community often survives on little to no income. That's why landlords fear getting stuck with tenants who don't pay.
Who is it? Hi, Sal. I'm busy right now.
But shuffling tenants creates even bigger problems. It makes people like Creech vulnerable to rent hikes and immediate eviction, keeping stability out of reach.
We'll talk about Sal. So, that's my landlord.
For Tom Scheimer, who lives at a nearby hotel, musical rooms meant sleeping on the street once a month.
They let me keep my stuff there for that period of time where I had to move out, and I would just sleep on the street for a night or 2.
Scheimer has struggled with homelessness and substance abuse for years. Living in an SRO is the only option for him and others in similarly desperate circumstances.
They're probably not going to have credit reports. They're probably not going to have rental history in San Francisco. For them to qualify for other kinds of housing is going to be so much more difficult.
Creech is now working with the Mission SRO Collaborative, a tenants' rights organization, to fight his landlord. The city attorney already cited his hotel for musical rooms in 2001.
Good morning.
Morning. Welcome. Glad you made it.
At their advice, he now pays his rent with money orders, creating a paper trail that keeps his landlord in check.
I've established residency, but my friends and neighbors continue to go through that.
Scheimer got lucky. He gained residency in a different hotel that has so far allowed him to stay put.
I don't have to move every 28 days. Like, this room is mine. As you can see, I've gotten pretty settled in.
Scheimer and Creech have found stability for the moment, but systemic change is yet to come.
You come in as a new person, they'll do the same thing with the next person, next person, next person. They need to be held accountable.
Until that happens, tenants are on their own to protect their rights. This is Vanessa Carr for CNS News.
I'm standing at the old 16th Street train station in West Oakland. The building was once a destination for cross-country travelers. Now empty, the station is waiting for what comes next. Which brings us to our next theme, the pleasures and perils of travel. First, we'll take a look at mopeds, a mode of transportation that, like trains, has seen better days.
It's crack on wheels. Go around the block once, you want one. But then also I'm like, I see myself riding one on video or other people, and I'm like, God, that looks so lame.
Cheap to buy, easy to ride, and with few DMV regulations, the moped, once a mainstay on America's roadways, is making a comeback. During the 1970s energy crisis, more than 250,000 Americans owned a moped. But with engines a fraction the size of Harleys, mopeds quickly fell out of favor in the U.S.
It's the moped.
Now, moped enthusiasts in their 20s and 30s want to bring back the moped. Groups of riders calling themselves gangs are forming in cities across the country. San Francisco's Creatures of the Loin is one of more than 50 gangs nationwide.
We take the moniker gang, but yeah, like there's a lot of negative connotations that come with gang that, you know, we don't subscribe to, like murder and drug dealing. Like, that's not really what we're about.
Mopeds are no longer imported to the U.S. Today's enthusiasts ride vintage, European-make bikes that require continual repairs.
And the whole movement is people taking bikes made from like 1976 to maybe 81, stripping them down, building them back up, taking parts from other bikes, basically just building new bikes.
The nationwide moped renaissance has the creatures traveling far and wide to rallies with fellow gangs across the U.S.
Every moped gang has a rally every year in the summer, right? It's like, you know, everyone from the national gangs come out to your city, ride with you, party with you, kick it. Mopeds multiply on themselves. You know, like if you sell one to one little kid, all his friends are going to have one in a couple of weeks. Like all their friends are going to have them. You know, it's just, it multiplies on its own.
The moped movement has spread from Kalamazoo, Michigan to Los Angeles and New York. But San Francisco's riders are content to stay close to home.
We can ride from like here to Dolores Park, 8-10 blocks, and it's just like the funnest ride ever.
For CNS News, this is Richard Parks.
Have you ever been caught by a red light camera? Well, in Belmont, that means a $500 ticket. When one showed up in Al Bullock's mailbox, he decided to put up a fight. Josh Wolf has the story.
I've got just about every model of camera that you could even see.
Al Bullock shot thousands of photographs as a professional news photographer. But last year, a San Mateo red light camera caught him on the other side of the lens.
My daughter and son-in-law said, "Why don't you just pay it?" And I said, "Well, that's what other people are doing."
Bullock was ticketed making a right turn in view of the red light camera in front of the police station.
2 weeks later, I get these pictures in the mail, and I say, "Wait a minute, I remember that day."
But while examining the intersection where he was ticketed, he made a discovery.
See how quick that was? That yellow light was less than 3 seconds right there. So I decided to fight it. I'm retired and I had time, and I felt I was right.
Under California law, that yellow light is required to last at least 3.6 seconds.
1002, 1003.
Which led Bullock's lawyer to call his client as an expert witness.
I've never been an expert witness for myself, but I've been an expert witness dozens of times on photographs.
But the magistrate overseeing the case balked, saying,
"I'm not going to consider you an expert witness." If you recall, she then found me guilty.
We're really happy with it. The accident rates have gone down significantly at these intersections since the program started.
Assistant City Attorney Bahar Abdullahi said that the red light camera tickets do bring in revenue, but not all of it goes to the city.
There is revenue generated, but there's costs in running the program. There's administrative costs, there's staff fees, there's the payment to Red Flex themselves for providing the equipment.
San Mateo's contract with Red Flex, an Australian outfit, guarantees the city will not have to pay the company more money than the tickets generate. Bullock's lawyer filed an appeal, arguing that this arrangement violates state law.
And so Frank Iwana took care of from then on. And then he called me and said, Al, you won't believe this, but you beat the case. They reversed your charge.
Within weeks, the city council voted unanimously to revise the contract. But Abdullahi says the changes had nothing to do with Bullock's victory.
No, they're not. They really aren't related. It was something that we had wanted to clean up anyways, and we really don't know why Mr. Bullock's appeal was upheld.
I believe that they should give every one of the people that were charged, I don't care what money they were charged, give them their money back.
This is Josh Wolf reporting for CNS News.
While Bullock fought in court, a San Francisco couple was involved in a different kind of challenge with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. Over 17,000 people were deported from Northern California this year, a number that has almost tripled since 2003. Nina Goodby brings us the story of a couple separated by deportation.
Palin Salibi Arener is selling pieces of the home she shared with her French husband, Murat.
It was just like all of a sudden the ground swallowed them up. It opened up and swallowed them.
October 27th, immigration agents arrested Murat and told him he was going to be deported. It was last year when Palin and Murat, who are childhood friends, reunited in Turkey.
We had sort of a whirlwind romance. It was a wonderful summer, and we decided we didn't want to be apart anymore.
Murat joined her in San Francisco, where they blissfully began a life. He served quiche, muffins, and chai off his trendy food cart in the Mission, while Palin, a poet, waited tables. They married but remained unaware of a serious problem. Murat had no permanent visa.
He had the option of coming in on the visa waiver program, which it just seems so attractive in the beginning because all you do is you buy a plane ticket and you come.
But it only allows you to stay 90 days. After that, Murat was here illegally.
People who enter under a visa waiver program don't have a right to go to court and present a case on their behalf.
ICE put Murat in Yuba County Jail. He waited there for the U.S. to arrange his ticket to Paris. There was no telling how long that would take. So after 3 weeks, Palin spent her own money, bought a ticket, and deported her husband.
And I wanted him to be out of there. I wanted him to be free.
Very, very few people understand how the system actually works and what options immigrants actually have right now.
So Palin's packing up and saying goodbye to San Francisco. Murat was there with her, via Skype. At times, they're still confused about how this happened to them.
Wait, you didn't get deported then?
No.
You just left voluntarily, but you can't come back for 10 years?
But they're being extra cautious this time and playing by the rules. She's getting a permanent visa, so this won't happen again in France. This is Nina Goodby for CNS News.
The Mission is full of stories of people facing seemingly insurmountable odds with humor and innovation. In this next section, we bring you 3 stories on how the challenges some of the Bay Area's younger residents face can lead to creative solutions. First, Alyssa Figueroa introduces us to a young missionista who found a way to elevate his neighborhood street tradition and lifted himself in the process.
Walking along the mission streets, you pass hundreds of murals. They show storied pasts, long journeys, and hopeful futures. But graffiti in the neighborhood tells a different story. Some of the signature tags mark gang turfs, and they represent a dangerous life that can be hard to escape.
I was getting more influenced by people around my neighborhood, getting into gangs.
Dreff, as he's known in graffiti circles, is 19. He learned the harsh realities of gang life early.
Just watching friends getting jumped in, getting jumped out, people passing away by violence, gang violence.
At 15, he joined his older brother's graffiti crew.
Graffiti is part of this culture, part of the mission. It first started out with the gangsters writing their own little nicknames, all this and that, and then more people got more into that and, you know, adding their own style, their own, you know, their own personal taste to it.
At first, Dreff painted on walls without permission. But 3 years ago, a teacher at John O'Connell High School recruited him to paint a mural near the school.
My way was kind of introducing him how to do it legally
and realizing that maybe you can have a life where you're not worried about being chased all the time and still do your art.
Draft started asking for permission to paint. He eventually compiled a portfolio on the mission's trucks and walls that earned him a scholarship to the San Francisco Academy of Art University, where he's working towards a bachelor's in fine arts.
I just pay attention to the colors and the shapes, the outlines, everything. Nothing else really matters around me. I'm pretty surprised sometimes. I think about it, and sometimes I'm shocked that I've come this far because of graffiti.
This is Alyssa Figueroa for CNS News.
In this next section, we visit Lake Elementary School, where teachers hope a unique after-school program will help students raise low test scores.
Nearly 85% of students at Lake Elementary read below their grade level.
Yes. Okay.
3 years ago, the school brought in America Scores, an after-school program that includes weekly poetry classes.
It could be to a person, to a dog.
Many of the girls are new to the country, a fact that may lead to low reading scores.
This is one way for them to practice their writing, and also one way to show themselves that they have great ideas.
Today, 5th grader Elizabeth Sarum and her classmates brainstorm words for poems that give advice.
Words, not sentences. Yeah.
2 hours later, she reads the poem aloud.
It's not good to curse or to steal someone's purse, not good to punch nor steal people's lunch. It's nice to be kind and to respect the human mind. That will help me learn bigger words and to show my feelings in a sentence or a few words.
The girls are required to take the poetry class in order to play on their soccer team. Most prefer soccer to poetry.
Come on, girls, you guys gotta communicate. We have to talk to each other and pass the ball.
Family enthusiasm at the games gives the girls confidence and boosts self-esteem.
When I score some goals or when I steal a ball, I hear them cheering for me, and that makes me happy.
4th grader Andrea Uribe also feels happy playing soccer.
I feel I'm in the sailboat, floating, and the air comes into me.
Lake Elementary remains in the bottom 10% of California schools, but over the last 3 years, students' performance has improved. This is Callie Shanafelt for CNS News.
Playing soccer can go a long way towards improving girls' health, but only if they're eating the right food. U.S. teen obesity rates have tripled in the last decade to more than 9 million overweight teenagers. Shakiri Hightower reports.
The problem is everywhere. Too many fast food restaurants, not enough exercise. Obesity is a health crisis of immense proportion. But what's the real cause?
Certainly the fast food industry is to blame.
Elaine Hersher wrote the book Generation Extra Large.
The way people build cities is also to blame, in the sense that kids can't walk safely or bike safely.
For too long, I think we've thought of obesity as a hereditary risk factor. And I think people are becoming to recognize that it's a largely environmental risk factor.
Rucker Johnson is a professor of public policy at UC Berkeley.
There's a 2002 study found that there are 3 times as many supermarkets in wealthy neighborhoods as opposed to in poor neighborhoods, and that there was 4 times as many supermarkets in white neighborhoods as opposed to predominantly African American neighborhoods. Communities with higher percentages of African Americans are also found to have fewer available parks and green spaces, and mothers are particularly concerned about the safety of their children.
If you live in a neighborhood where you don't feel it's safe to go out, you can't take a walk, or you don't feel like your kids are safe taking a walk outside, you'd rather have them inside watching television.
Access to safe parks is just part of the solution. More answers may be here at San Francisco General Hospital's Healthy Lifestyle Clinic.
If we can make it so that it's totally cool for kids just to carry fruit and vegetable, it will work.
Dr. Cam Tu Tran is the director of the clinic. She says kids should say no to sodas, slow down while eating, and exercise. Experts say it took us several generations to get into the obesity epidemic. It will take a coordinated effort to get out. For CNS News, I'm Shakiri Hightower.
Today we've seen people dealing with all kinds of problems, from finding a job to traffic tickets. Our last story focuses on people hoping to change their lives in a way that might seem counterintuitive, by asking death for help.
The tradition has long roots in Mexican spirituality and, believers say, a pretty decent track record. Kate Kilpatrick went to the Mission District to find followers of La Santa Muerte.
She's known as La Señora, La Niña Blanca, La Santísima, La Santa Muerte. In Mexico, more than 2 million people believe in Santa Muerte, a pagan saint believed to be the guardian of death.
Es un ángel de luz que Dios creó para arrebatar la vida de la gente.
Santa Muerte's popularity is growing, especially among the urban poor and criminal classes in Mexico, where her image is often associated with the violent drug cartels.
You know, in Mexico, like drug dealers, they're always in danger. You know, either they're going to kill somebody or somebody want to rob you because you got a lot of money. So they pray to Santa Muerte.
In the mission, devotion to Santa Muerte is mostly practiced in private.
La mayoría de gente la oculta.
But even at the local dollar store, statues like these are on display. And the followers we spoke with said they seek Santa Muerte's help not with revenge, but with personal problems.
Stress, sad, work. He would tomar también? Sí. And he used to drink a lot. I mean, every day.
No tomar. Martir Lopez is from El Salvador. Every day he lights candles to Santa Muerte. Blue for health, green for money, red for love. On weekends, he brings her fruit, rum, tequila, and cigarettes, which he smokes with her. Although the Catholic Church forbids devotion to Santa Muerte, most followers say they don't see a contradiction between the two beliefs.
Pero mis hijos son católicos. Van a la iglesia, van a los encierros, van a todo ese tipo de cosas, porque nada tiene que ver una cosa con la otra.
Eduardo Pulodo, another mission resident, says he has no fear of La Santa. He only loves her.
He believes in God. He believes in different saints too, but his saint is the one that pulls him. Yeah, his heart is with Santa Muerte.
La Santa Muerte is believed to have originated in pre-Hispanic times, and may be a depiction of the Aztec goddess of death who ruled the underworld. This is Kate Kilpatrick for CNS News.
That's it for this edition of CNS News. Thank you for joining us.
You can find these and other CNS stories online at uctv.tv.